And welcome back. Welcome back to another weekly episode of Three the Hard Way. My name is Tariq Rashad. We are here on Zoom. Got married man Rob, bachelor's in arts and science.
And science.
Facts. And John. John has code switched on us, switched up the sport. And he's rocking the Mets jersey with the Met.
Call me 1.0.62 ERA DeGrom.
What did you say?
What the hell going on?
I call you Sticky Stuff Hunter.
Sticky Stuff Hunter.
You pitching with sticky stuff.
I call you a hater.
Stay hating.
Talk about DeGrom right quick, John, before we get into it.
You heard me. 0.62 ERA. Lowest ERA in MLB history to this day. If he continues to do this, he will have a legendary season. According to Rob, he's using sticky stuff. It has not been proven. They have not tested him for anything. They haven't found him of anything. Rob, I found these allegations quietly offensive, that you're imrepusive, that you're saying that DeGrom is cheating essentially without proving anything and having any facts behind it.
My allegations remain solely on the fact that there was an article in Sports Illustrated that said that it's a widespread rampant, that the fact that pitchers all across the MLB are using sticky stuff in their gloves to throw super sinkers and fastballs that rise. And I just think it's very coincidental how over the last, 5 years, Jacob DeGrom fastball and his spin rate has been increasing. And in the article, it mentioned that the sticky stuff is the reason why the hitters can't hit, and the reason why the fastball spin rate is increasing, which increases the velocity and the movement of it.
What the hell did you just say?
So, I digress, and we're going to get into business, but I'm calling you sticky stuff.
Before you digress, I just want to ask you a question. Anywhere in that article have they mentioned the name Jacob DeGrom?
No, but the Mets were mentioned in the article.
I digress. Like I said, hating.
All right, so got a quick little baseball rant or John versus Rob rant out the way. We're going to jump into some NBA where all three of the teams that we're rooting for are all at home. So we are just fans of the game now as we watch this second round of the NBA season. Any where I want to start?
Listen, man, we can start out east, we can start out west. But I can stick to my prediction and what I said way back in the beginning of the season. And we're not talking about Jokic being MVP because that's old news.
Oh, you're not talking about that?
No, that's old news. If you watch Rob Bett's segment way back in season 2, then it's broken news. You ain't got to talk about that. What we are going to talk about is the fact that I said, and I'm sticking to it, that the Utah Jazz are going to make the Western Conference Finals.
You did say
that's what I said.
You did say that.
How I said. And they beat the Grizzlies, and they about to beat the Clippers. I'm tired of these flippers.
I can't take this no more.
They gonna puff out their chest like they done something. I'm tired of it.
I don't know, Rob. I still got the Clippers in that series. The Clippers are in a situation where you wonder though if just making it out of that first round or winning that 7-game series, being down 3-2 is enough for them. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, what they came into this season and last season with, I would say no, they're championship hunting. But they kind of, Paul George had a really exasperated night. Game 1, Kawhi Leonard wasn't the same Kawhi Leonard from game 6 and 7 against the Dallas Mavericks. But they did play a 7-game series. Utah, on the other hand, played a 5-game series. I think they'll have their legs under them, and we'll see. I still got the Clippers. And the only reason why I have the Clippers, not to jump to the East, but Brooklyn looks unstoppable. Brooklyn looks unstoppable, and that's without James Harden. I think I was very adamant during the season, especially early in the season, saying that they didn't need James Harden to be a championship contending team. In fact, I had them as a championship or bust team prior to them getting James Harden. But what can I say? Kevin Durant, impossible to guard. Kyrie Irving, when he's hitting jump shots, impossible to guard. Blake Griffin's found the fountain of youth, or he did what a lot of superstars have to call load management nowadays, and just didn't play hard the first half of the season when he was with Detroit. Now he has a ton of energy. He's diving for loose balls, stealing passes, dunking on people like he's back in LA. So I had Milwaukee as the best chance to beat the Brooklyn Nets outside of the Lakers and the Clippers, and I'm about ready to give up on Milwaukee. So all I have left is the Clippers. So I need the Clippers to make it out the West, and that's the problem. They scare me. I don't know if they're gonna make it out.
I feel you on the Clippers talk. I feel you, Rob, about the Clippers losing. According to you, you think that the Jazz is the best team. They have the best team in the West. They're playing great basketball.
Uh-oh. I already know what you're about to say.
I think I'm not saying anything. I didn't even say anything. I just think that they were just down 2-0 against a Mavericks team, right? And Luka went off for every game in the series, and everybody counted them down. I just believe in the Clippers. I believe that the Clippers is going to come out the West, regardless of what it looks like. I feel like Kawhi is going to take on his leadership role. I'm finally now seeing that Paul George accepts the fact that Kawhi is the man, and Kawhi step up in those moments, and he is the primary scorer in the fourth quarter, and throughout the game. And I'm seeing that more and more often as their roles are being defined. Last game, they played a great first half. Great first half, held the Jazz down to 19 points in the first quarter. Held Donovan Mitchell and the Jazz to low standards according to their offenses. Second half, they came out firing. Got to give credit when credit is due. Donovan Mitchell played a hell of a game. It scorched them. It was still a winnable game. And I think ultimately, when it comes down to those in the 7-game series, I'm taking the Los Angeles Clippers over the Utah Jazz. When it comes to the East, nobody's seeing the Nets right now. Number one, we have to address this fact on the show. Who's the best player in the NBA right now? I want to hear directly from Ty and Rob.
Currently,
who the best player in the NBA? I just want to know.
Tell them something, Joe.
On air, on wax.
I'm gonna pull a John and say the best player in the NBA has been hurt all season.
Who's that?
Who's that?
He's been hurt all season. He ain't about to back me down to a corner.
Who, LeBron James?
LeBron James.
I ain't say it was LeBron. I say he was hurt all season.
Best player's been hurt all season. KD was hurt all season too.
KD was hurt. LeBron was hurt. This best player was hurt all season.
You, me, everybody that's around here. Him.
John, with reservation, I'll even give you KD right now. I'll say KD, but at the same time, I won't. I'm not forgetting the team that's put together. I'm not forgetting the fact that yes, it's KD, and yes, he's making contested shots, and yes, he's having an amazing playoff run these first 7 games. But I also will not allude to the fact that if you want to stop Brooklyn, you could try to guard KD. He's gonna get his buckets regardless, but it's not just KD beating teams that's making them look foolish. Kyrie's having an amazing playoffs. He had one bad game. Other than that, Kyrie's having an amazing playoffs. Let's not forget that he shot 50, 40, 90 during the regular season. Their team is stacked. So yes, KD is the hardest person to guard in the NBA right now. But when you got a team like that, I mean, it's pick your poison. But we'll see. Again, this is why I want the Clippers. I think in Kyrie and KD's mind, in their mind, they want the best too. They want the hardest road because they feel like they have the best team and they are the best players. I would like to see it. I want to see them earn a championship. In my opinion, without James Harden, especially if James Harden cannot return for the playoffs or he's a shell of himself in the playoffs, it's an earned championship. I'll give you that, John. Even though I don't like the roster to put together, I don't feel like it was fair. I think it's an earned championship for sure.
I ain't giving you that. If Brooklyn don't win a championship, it's a failure. That's what
absolutely. But
a failure.
At this rate, Rob, the first 7 games first 6 games that they played, 7 games that they played in the playoffs, I'm gonna look at it from a if they win perspective right now because they are clearly head and shoulders favorites against across the board. head and shoulders. So from a looking at it, if they won perspective, especially without James Harden, I think, well, James Harden played the first series, which was huge. I mean, he had 40 in their loss. And
I'm going to put this stat out there. It is 50, 50, 90. 50, 50, 90.
Damn.
And guess who's guarding him in this series? The former defensive player of the year and former MVP. He's making this guy look bad.
Damn.
Flat out, you can't guard me.
Yeah, man.
And I say that to say that offense doesn't run. That offense does not run without Kevin Durant. Blake Griffin is not having a revamped season without Kevin Durant.
Whoa.
The reason why Blake Griffin are having these looks and able to shoot these threes because they're so worried about Kevin Durant scoring buckets that they're literally leaving Blake Griffin wide open.
I'm sorry.
And he's getting these passes in rotation.
Brooklyn didn't win games without Kevin Durant in the regular season?
Yes, he did.
He wasn't hurt and they were still winning 60% of their games?
Yes, he did.
Blake Griffin wasn't doing this? I'm sorry. I didn't. If that happened,
James Harden playing? Was James Harden playing?
That's not the question. You said
was James Harden playing?
You said Kevin Durant is the reason why Blake Griffin is playing this way. I'm just pointing out that there's been times when Kevin Durant wasn't in the lineup and Blake Griffin was still playing productive basketball. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm trying to say. And back to my original point of what I was trying to say.
I'm saying that in the playoffs right now, Blake Griffin is playing the best basketball he has played all season. Is that a lot?
Griffin before the double-double had games of 6 points, 4 points, and 8 points. You're telling me that's his best game of the season?
Stop it. Get some help.
His best basketball? That you're telling me? So back to my original point.
Griffin had 18 and 10.
I think that Steve Nash is doing an amazing job of coaching this team, and I want to give him some love because me personally, I was on this show and said I don't think he should have got the job. But he has been proving me wrong, which I can admit to say that happens sometimes. I'm not right all the time, but when I'm right, you're gonna hear about it. But Steve Nash doing a hell of a job over there in Brooklyn, man. Shout out to Steve Nash. Look, DeAndre Jordan ain't playing second.
What I be feeling, Rob, and it sucks because they're not losing, like they're winning games, but their defense is not great. Nick Claxton, I like him. He's a presence inside. He reminds me of Jeremy Grant a little bit bigger. But DeAndre Jordan's not playing because he plays no defense. Blake Griffin is playing the 5 majority of the time. Jeff Green, who's probably their best on-ball defender outside of Bruce Brown, is not playing either. They're winning, John, because I'm sorry, Rob, but not because of Steve Nash, in my opinion. Because they have Kevin Durant scoring buckets, because Kyrie Irving is catching a rhythm. And I think you could have Mike Woodson on the sideline, Tyronn Lue on that sideline, freaking Brooks and Mike Brown. There we go. Mike Brown. You could have Mike Brown on that sideline, and this team would still be 6-1 in the playoffs. But we will see when it gets to championship level, when there's actually some competition in front of them. They haven't faced any adversity in these series yet. They haven't faced a lick of adversity in these playoffs. And that's when I will credit a coach, when there is a lick of adversity. Right now, a team that good, losing James Harden is not really adversity, in my opinion. But go ahead.
What I will say about coaching, it is more than just X's and O's. It's about being able to have people buy into a system, buy into their roles. And to have a former all-star, former all-NBA player like DeAndre Jordan literally ride the bench and be okay with it says something about the coaching. Granted, it says something about DeAndre Jordan, but the fact that he has Bruce Brown running pick and rolls with people, the fact that he has Blake Griffin being rejuvenated, the fact that he has Kevin Durant playing 50, 50, 90 basketball like he's never done before, John. Like the fact that he has built a culture within Brooklyn where it's okay when James Harden is the point guard and I'm going to stop all my ISO ball and Kyrie Irving can be the shooting guard. That says something about the culture. And I don't believe that Mike Brown, that Mike Woodson, that David Blatt, they don't garner the respect from Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and James Harden to say, you know what, I believe in what your philosophy is. Let's play that way. And that's where I'm giving Steve Nash the credit because he has these players bought into the system that they have.
I mean, with all
this is where I feel like you're not giving Kevin Durant the credit that he deserves because he's coming off of Achilles injury. Mike Woodson ain't in the gym. Mike D'Antoni's not in the gym. They not in there doing rehab with him. They're not in there putting up shots. They're not in there shooting the ball. Kevin Durant is putting his talents on display, coming back and having arguably the best season of his career off of an Achilles injury, Rob. There is no ifs, ands, and buts about that. There's not too many people that come back from Achilles injury scoring like this, period. In the history of basketball, there's only been one person who's came back successfully and scored over 20 points, and that was Dominique Wilkins. This guy Kevin Durant is nothing short of spectacular, and I'm very disappointed of your take. It just comes off as no KD love.
Stay hating.
It's hard for me to give somebody love when you play with two other best creators of all time. Like it's hard for me to say
one of the best creators right now. I'm talking about in this series right now against the Milwaukee Bucks. He's playing with one other creator. It's even like the playing field as far as superstars go. We're not talking about a super team right now. We're talking about a Brooklyn Nets team who has Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Those are the two stars, and they have a former All-Star who are just considered to be washed up in Detroit.
I personally don't think Blake was ever washed. Blake 2 years ago took Detroit to the playoffs.
Wait, let me ask you a question. When he was in Detroit this season, did people consider Blake to be done before he got traded to Brooklyn?
I consider Blake to be unmotivated, and when you're in a spot where you feel like you could be productive on a winning basketball team and not be the man, why would you want to be there? Why would you try to dunk for a team that's clearly rebuilding and saying Jeremy Grant is our number one option?
Right. And that's what I was thinking. I'm looking at someone like Blake, who when he went over to Detroit was expected to be a good team. Let's not forget they were in the playoffs 2 years ago. Him and Andre Drummond were supposed to be something, and they moved Drummond earlier this season, and they get nothing back for him. They move. They have Jeremy Grant running 24 points a game. They move Christian Wood. They're not building to get better. So why the hell am I going to spend not the twilight, because I don't think he's in the twilight, but why am I going to spend the back end of my career on a losing team when I've never won anything? I need to at least compete for something. And then, like I said before, John, the way James Harden forced his way to Brooklyn just opened it up for someone like Blake Griffin to force his way to Brooklyn, like Marcus Aldridge, who didn't force his way to Brooklyn, but to end up in Brooklyn. Unfortunately, he had to retire. They also have Joe Harris on that roster. Let's not forget, who is a dead-eye three-point shooter. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have a good roster, John. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that this team right now, in my opinion, is the team that was constructed when Kyrie went over there. When KD went over there. This was the team that was constructed. Missing Spencer Dinwiddie, missing Karis LeVert, who was traded. But I said then that they need to go out there and win it. And without James Harden, they still look like the team to beat. So maybe you're not hearing it from Rob. They're getting that respect from me. I also want to see what happens when they face some type of adversity. With that being said, this may be, with the way the playoffs is shaping out to me, they may not face that adversity because James Harden probably has the least. He's probably going to be back before the playoffs is out. The teams that I think that can beat them, Milwaukee is not looking good. Then you have the Clippers, and if Denver had Jamal Murray, I think they would have a chance. Utah, I don't think there's enough scoring over there. I love Donovan Mitchell. I got him in my background. He is reminding me of my favorite player, Dwayne Wade, especially on this playoff run. The way that he's 5-0 in the playoffs. He didn't play that one game they lost to Memphis. So just putting the team on his back, being the scoring engine that he's become for Utah, but I still don't think they have enough for Brooklyn. So I don't know if Brooklyn Nets will face any adversity, but that's when I'll start crediting the coaching structure, the coaching culture, and things of that nature. And Kevin Durant, and can he be awful, which is still something that I'm very questionable on. But I don't know if we got any more time for basketball. So it might be time to move on to our next topic.